Hey guys, if you recall last year, I had the segment called the Meet the Attorney series. I want to expand on that this year as well because I got a lot of reviews on it. A lot of people loved it, so I'm going to expand on it. So today, I'm going to have our first Meet the Attorney series for 2023, and I'm interviewing a gentleman who calls himself the Lovable Lawyer. Kind of curious of what that's all about. So let's check it out. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today is the first installment of my Meet the Attorney series. And, as you recall, last year I've had a few of these installments and got rave reviews. So I wanted to bring it back this year on season 4 of this great podcast. And I want to interview a gentleman that I think you are going to be enlightened with. So without further ado, I'm going to bring forth the great Danny Karon. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
It's going great. How you doing today? How's everybody doing today?
And we're loving life. It's a new year and, we're ready to rock and roll. So Danny, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm a few things.
I love it.
Thanks. So, the challenge is where to start. And it's kind of fun to be a few things because my daughter said to me not too long ago, she just got out of college and she's got her first job and she's got some other interests she's developing. And she said, Dad, is it okay to have some side interests or some supplementary interests to your kind of main track interest? I said, oh, good Lord, of course it is. It took me 30 years to figure that out. So I've got a few things that I've been cultivating in addition to my day-to-day lawyer job. Because, being a lawyer is what I do. It's not who I am. So the law part of the law track involves consumer class action work. I started at a large firm in Chicago. I've got my own firm now in Cleveland, and it's mostly consumer fraud, antitrust, wage and hour. It's really doing cases for people who can't really speak for themselves, have no voice if left on their own. They've got to band together with others like victims to have any sort of say in the matter to hold corporate America accountable and responsible. So that's the class action track. In addition to that, I always thought teaching and giving and growing and doing and problem solving and all those sorts of things and themes were so essential to what we do as lawyers that I wanted to give back to other lawyers and share with them what I know so that they too can be better problem solvers, help their clients, make the world a better place. So I started teaching. And I first started teaching at Columbia Law School. I taught a class action and complex litigation course, which was really cool. I mean, going to New York every week for class was cool. Had you asked me the first, second, third weeks what I thought about it, I would have said what I just did. It was great. But by weeks 11, 12, 13, I'm telling you, schlepping to New York every week, winter storms, I wanted to jump off the George Washington Bridge. Forget it. I knew that wasn't sustainable. So I needed something closer. I instead after Columbia ended, I went out and got myself teaching jobs at the University of Michigan Law School and the Ohio State University College of Law, where I also teach class actions, and I just alternate years. So I literally just turned in my grades in Michigan, and I should start at Ohio State next semester. So I got a teaching track going. I also really like to write because, believe what you'd like, lawyers are professional writers. We have very few ways to communicate in this world, only two, speaking and writing. And you better be the best writer on the block if you want to be a good lawyer. And I've done legal writing for obviously years and years and years. And I teach legal writing, but I have all these stories to tell, which I'm going to get into. That's kind of the theme of this. And I wanted to put it into something a little different. So I've been working on my first novel.
Awesome.
It's called The Last Class Action. That's my working title. And it's a legal thriller. I just got my most recent round of edits from my editor yesterday. It's going to be another year's worth of work editing because it's re-editing and re-editing and re-editing. So that's a lot of fun. I like doing that a lot. But the reason I suspect I'm here is because in all my kind of teaching and storytelling experiences, I really wanted to give back more immediately and kind of cut out the lawyer. This is the Meet the Lawyer segment, but I'm more about not having lawyers involved and self-advocating and protecting yourselves and standing up for yourself and knowing your rights, having legal awareness and legal aptitude to best conduct your life. And that's why, and that's what spawned this Your Lovable Lawyer brand. It's all about empowering people to be their best legal selves, to know what their rights are, to advocate for themselves, to avoid getting screwed over by companies who, if left to their own devices, most often and most likely would. And I'm eager to tell people all about that brand. So when you ask what I do, leave it to a lawyer. Long answer to a short question. Those are my tracks.
All right, that's a great. Well, I love the answers, details. People get to know you a lot more, and that's awesome. So the title of today, we're going to talk about the importance of legal wellness and how to achieve it, which is very interesting. When we first started setting this call up, it was last year. Obviously, it was towards the end of 2022, and when I saw the title, I was like, wow, I've got to get my audience. I have to get this gentleman in front of my audience so we can talk all about that. So I just have a few questions. If you can hang out with me for a bit, just to get to the heart of what this is all about. So the first question that I was thinking about was, first of all, why did you launch your Lovable Lawyer? That whole Lovable Lawyer piece. I want to first of all, I want to understand what Lovable Lawyer is, if you can explain that, and then why did you launch it?
Sure. Lovable Lawyer is a brand that is intended to deliver information, not give advice. Lawyers can't ethically give advice. I can't tell folks what to do. I can only raise their awareness, empower them to do what they want to do, given some knowledge of the law and the facts and the circumstances. So that's what it does. Now, what spawned it? I've, for years, believed that there is a societal bias against access to justice, where people who deserve it the most tend to get it the least. And that results in people not knowing what to do when they have issues, or being unable to detect issues, or they don't know how to find a lawyer, or they don't know how to pay for a lawyer, all these sorts of problems. And I didn't think it was really fair. So I took a look around the, call it daytime TV and internet landscape, and I observed a few things. I saw that there's a lot of, call it emotional wellness content out there, like Dr. Phil talking about how to be safe and sound in your mind and body. There's also a lot of financial wellness content out there, like Jim Cramer, Susie Orman talking about how to set up a 529 for your kid or an IRA for yourself. But where it comes to that third essential bucket, wellness bucket, legal, which when it tips over, by the way, flows into the other two big time, and you're distressed and, if it affect your finances, there was nothing out there. The only legal related content I saw out there were these trumped up courtroom dramas like Judge Judy and Judge Mathis and Hot Bench, which, give them their due. They're killing it with ratings, but they show up after the problem has already exploded and people are already in the muck. They don't do anything to avoid the problem from the get-go. And I wanted to turn the dial back and not be exploitative, but rather be helpful and help people avoid these problems to begin with. So how does that look in real life? The website, I populate the website and the YouTube channel with lots of videos, because people love watching stuff rather than reading stuff. And the videos fall into, speaking of buckets, really kind of three more buckets. And the first one kind of created itself over the past couple of years, and it's COVID. There are all these COVID-related concerns and issues and problems that people don't either recognize or know how to resolve or pursue, such as, for instance, the higher education cases. They shut my kid's campus down. Am I getting my money's worth? Do I have a claim against the school because there aren't live classes? Or they shut the sports teams down and we paid for tickets, or they shut the health center down and we can't go treat there. All these, there's no parking because you're not on campus and we paid for parking pass. Is there a claim there for getting our money back? Those are the higher education cases. What about the back when COVID was hot, the PPE cases? The personal protective equipment case. You're working in a McDonald's. You're working at a meat processing plant. Things are feeling a bit too close for comfort. Is my employer giving me and providing me enough safeguards, PPE, space, distancing, whatever, that it should? What are my employer's duties and responsibilities? What are my duties and responsibilities to my employer and to myself? I don't know. These are important issues.
Hmm.
What about what what about COVID waivers? Let's say, remember back when COVID was hot, you're driving up to soccer practice and you crack the window because coach slips in a piece of paper and a pen, says Johnny can't get out of the back seat and practice for the team unless you sign this piece of paper. And you're like, what the heck am I signing? It's COVID waiver, and what am I giving up? What are the limitations of this document? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that he's crabbing and I'm late for work. Get out of the car. And that comes with legal consequences. So those are COVID issues that people, as I'm telling these stories, I hope are thinking, boy, that might have happened to me, or something similar happened to me. There are also evergreen cases, situations, that have been around forever and always will be. What to do if you're in an auto accident, what to do in traffic court, forced arbitration clauses that are small print in every consumer contract pretty much that we have, cell phone, internet provider, cable company, that say, if you have a beef with us, you can't sue us. Instead, you have to submit to private arbitration. We pick the problem solver, and the data show that almost every time you're going to lose. It's your Seventh Amendment right to a jury trial, and you're losing it because we say so. People don't know that they're signing that right away. And then finally, I take kind of pop cultural situations like Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. Big news, but what can we learn from it, right? As consumers, as real people, what can we derive from it? I mean, it wasn't a spousal abuse case. It was a defamation case. What did she do that got herself in hot water? And what can we do to keep out of similar hot water when it's so easy to disseminate similar content on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and all over the internet? Because she certainly didn't think she'd be paying $10 million when she published that Washington Post op-ed. So what lessons can we derive from those situations? And I put them together into fun, longer and shorter form videos, a lot of choreography and green screening and costumes, just to keep it fun and fresh so people can learn from other people's bad experiences so as to avoid these bad experiences themselves.
Awesome. So you have a YouTube channel. I'd love to link that. I'll put the link to the show notes of the YouTube channel. I'm going to check so people could check that out. That's interesting. That's so interesting. So this is an interesting concept, Danny. I gotta be honest with you. I've never heard of it before. So it's got to be something. There's a backstory. What is it that in your past life or your past jobs or whatever made you facilitate your say lovable lawyer brand? I mean, that's an interesting thing. So
I'll take that two ways. Yeah, of course. The first way is like branding wise, logo wise, it's kind of got this throwback 70s vibe. If you take a look at it, the logoing is kind of derived from like a Gilligan's Island, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family kind of theme, because I wanted to, harken back to when things were more inclusive and easier and less confrontational and friendlier. And I didn't want people to be intimidated or put off by the fact that I was a lawyer, because I get that all the time. I mean, you could ask me, do people always say, a lawyer, and roll their eyes or, make some remark? Oh, yeah, of course they do. I spend my whole life defending my practice. I mean, I suspect not a lot of your listeners spend their lives defending what they do. I defend what I do because, it's always the lawyers. So that's what's behind kind of the branding and logoing. But in terms of why another reason why I got into this was because for 13 years, I was chairing this big program for the American Bar Association called the National Institute on Class Actions, which is the biggest class actions educational program for lawyers and federal judges and professors in the country. And I just retired from it last cycle, as in like a couple months ago, because I'd squeezed all I could out of that grape, and it was a lot of work. So I'd like, enough's enough. Every year to plan it with the venue and the menu and the content and the faculty, it's like enough. But anyway, I'm putting on all this elaborate programming because before I took it over, it was, as lots of folks would have come to expect, a lot of panel discussions, long tables, mostly guys in navy and gray, suits reading in front of a text-dense PowerPoint that they had some associate prepare that they're largely ignoring, that people don't want to read or see anyway. And it was really lifeless and listless and antiseptic and vanilla and humdrum and just uninspired. And I wanted to, as you can probably divine so far, wanted to get rid of that kind of approach. So I took to making something more memorable and creative and meaningful and ingenuitive. And that involved writing plays and mock oral arguments and mock mediations and talk shows and game shows with a lot of audio and video and good food and good venues. And I put on all this programming And after my part was done, it just evaporated into the ether. Like you could ask somebody 10 minutes later what I talked about and they wouldn't remember. They would just remember that it was fun and that it was an open bar. So it didn't really get me where I wanted to go in terms of permanency and endurance. So I wanted to do something that would check both those boxes. And I figured putting content on video would achieve that. But I also didn't want to talk to lawyers. I wanted to talk to people, because going through lawyers is a step. Going through lawyers can be expensive. Going through lawyers is frustrating. But a little empowerment and a little self-care and a little knowledge of what your rights are and what facts to look for, I thought could take people a lot further than working with a lawyer. So can I give you a quick example?
Sure.
This literally happened last night. So, and this is something people can do.
Hot off the presses.
Absolutely hot off the presses. I haven't even thanked the person who sent this email yet. So this is kind of under the heading of a first world problem, but when all the blizzard of 2022 stuff was happening, all the flights were all up and down. I had a problem with United, and it wasn't weather related. So had it been weather related, I'd have let it alone. But it just had to do with a cancellation, and I wanted my money back rather than a credit. And there's this thing out of the Department of Transportation called the Passenger Bill of Rights that gives passengers a lot of rights they don't know they have. One of which is if you cancel within 24 hours, you get your money back. It's called the 24-hour reservation rule, and you can find it online. So I immediately called to cancel my reservation that I'd made literally 3 minutes earlier, and I wanted my money back and my visa. But instead, my son, for whom I'd made the reservation, got a credit for $187.60. And he's not flying anywhere. He's in college. He doesn't fly anywhere. He's certainly not flying United. He's not flying United out of Dulles Airport because he's in DC. He's close to Reagan. He's flying like Southwest out of Baltimore. He's not flying, whatever. So it did me no good at all. So I said, hey, listen, I said I wanted my money back, not a credit for my son, no less. Could I get it? And they wouldn't give it to me. So I found this rule. I wrote a letter. I wrote it to United's CEO, chief legal counsel, and customer service. I enclosed a copy of the confirmation information that I printed. I enclosed a copy of the 24-hour reservation rule, and I sent it to them. They ended up giving me a credit in my name, which was great because I've already used it. And they emailed me last night telling me they gushed apologetic and gave me 5,000 mileage plus miles to boot because they felt bad for what they'd done. And it only came around about because I self-advocated. I knew the rule. I knew my rights. I did something proactive about it. And you don't have to be a lawyer to do anything I just said. You just have to have a little bit of knowledge to protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. But the thing is that you already had that know-how. Mm-hmm. So for you, it's rather easy. But for someone like myself, we would just say, okay, well, all right, I guess I'll just take the credit,
Not after this podcast. Not
after this podcast.
And you can write letters and you can self-advocate and you can ask for things. If you're pissed off, you can demand things. You can threaten to take them to court. You can do whatever you want.
Out of curiosity, though, is information like this on your YouTube channel as well, or not?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I have a few things on airlines.
Awesome.
And including, by the way, the first airline content I put up was involved Spirit Airline a couple of years ago when things went further south than southwest the other week in 2022.
That was crazy.
And I talk all about the contract of carriage, which is the contract, the document that controls your relationship with the airline. If you want to know what they should do for you but didn't, Google Spirit Airline, Southwest Airline, United Airline contract of carriage. It's short, it's readable. You can find something in there to hang your hat on and write a letter revolving around that promise, and that will often get you what you need and what you want.
Outstanding. Take note of that, folks. Take note of that. All right. So we're talking today, though, about legal wellness. I want to get into the topic at hand. I mean, this was all great information about the Lovable Lawyer brand, and I understand why you do it now. So I wanted to get the audience involved with that. But why is legal wellness so important? What's the whole thing behind that?
Well, the law matters so much. I mean, if you pan back and take a look at what shows they broadcast on, say, TBS and TNT, they're either doctor shows, cop shows, or lawyer shows. I mean, you're not seeing, respectfully, accounting shows. You're not seeing dentist shows. You're not seeing podcast creator shows. You're seeing those three buckets. So they matter societally because those areas impact so much of our physical and financial and emotional being and wellness. I keep saying wellness because it's so important.
Mhm.
So if you take a look, as I mentioned earlier, at emotional wellness, I mean, you have a doctor, you might have a psychologist. You want to stay safe and sound in your mind and body. You might have a financial planner. You might have a friend who knows a bit about how you should invest. You want to keep things together so you can have money to pay for your mortgage, money to pay for your living expenses, money to pay for your kids' school, money to fund an IRA. You need to be competent and capable in that realm too. But as it concerns legal, and as it concerns legal, think about it. Let's say you die without a will. Problem. Let's say you're in an auto accident, but you don't know what to do. Problem. Let's say your house burns down and you don't know where to turn. Problem. The law infects and infuses itself into everything we do. And to have zero aptitude for maybe not the answers, but more importantly, the questions. Answers are out there. Questions are on you. You need to know to ask questions that you can ask questions. So often people are like, there's this charge on my Visa, 99 cents for Apple. I don't have an iTunes account. Why am I getting charged 99 cents? Whatever. I'm just going to let it go. And it proliferates. It goes on and on and on and on. You can push back on everything. The squeaky wheel has always gotten the grease and it always will. And unless you say something, companies are perfectly happy taking your money, and they will. I didn't want United taking my $187.60. It's my money. It would do my son no good. I just spent it on a flight to Chicago. During the same phone call, I got it back. I said, let me make a reservation. And I booked a trip to Chicago, and it was $187.60 cheaper than it would have been. And that's real money.
That's interesting. I love it. So to me, this whole lovable, loyal brand is good for us, but not so good for the corporations. They don't find you so lovable.
It's funny you said that because, a lot of listeners, a lot of listeners are working for and involved in corporations. So for instance, there's a law out there called the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It's the law that makes robocalling illegal. You can't do it. And if you do it, there's liability up to, I think it's $500 per call. And if it's willful, like $1,000 or $1,500 per call, or fax or text, it applies to all three. And if it's a robocaller device for a company, it can go through the roof. I mean, there are TCPA settlements in the tens of millions of dollars because companies just didn't pay mind to this. So I did a video not too long ago from the company's perspective, how to avoid getting in trouble for TCPA violations. I did one from the consumer end, what to do when you're the victim, when you're called, and another one from the company end, what not to do so as to avoid people suing you. And they're very easy fixes because you want to be fair and balanced as best you can to ensure that everybody does what's right by the law to protect themselves, not just individuals, but companies too.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Awesome. I love it. I'm getting well educated here, and I'm sure the audience is as well.
Yeah, there's plenty more on the website. I'm doing TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts now, just like shorter, like short form 60-second videos. I did a series last week.
Those are very effective, by the way.
Yeah, they are, right? Because they're so easy to digest. You can't get enough of them. Just scroll through them. But last week was a series on, let me think, bad laws and why. And you're free to disagree. And boy, did I get some big mouths about some of the laws I thought were bad. But that's okay. And I'm going to do one coming up on there ought to be a law. What there aren't laws on that I think there should be. And you're free to disagree. I'll tell you one of them. And I don't know how to shape this, but you ever go like, you're in New Jersey. You ever drive down the turnpike, you see the New York City skyline at night, right?
All the time.
Say, 2 a.m. Nobody's in those buildings, but every light is on. And that's in cities across the world. I don't understand why there isn't a law that says when you leave the room, you ought to shut off the light. And there's no reason to drain that much electricity worldwide when we're dealing with the issues we are, for sake of what? It looks pretty. Maybe you can cut it to half capacity or something. But I'm going to shape something fun, 60 seconds around that theme. And some people might say, yeah, good for you. There ought to be a law. And some people say, who the heck are you to tell me what I ought to see? And it's my city, damn it. And I love how it looks and butt out. And that's okay, too.
That's interesting you say that because I happen to know someone who works for, he's he's a maintenance person for some of those buildings. And what they do is that they're motion detectors, right? So it's a motion detector light that goes on and off when people are in and out. But it also, you can also dim the light so it has a lesser pull. But for the people that's driving and see the skylight and everything, it still looks good for them. It doesn't look like it's dim, but it's actually dimmer. That's what he told me.
Oh, that's clever. And not everyone's got a motion detector. And if they do, how much motion is going on at 3 a.m.?
No, but I'm saying it's a motion detector light that goes that even if no one is in the room after 12 midnight, it will go on, but not at full capacity. It will be very dim.
All right. Well, that's a start. See,
that's what that's what he was saying. Yeah.
Now we're having a conversation, right? There's something to talk about. Maybe I'll get a comment. What about motion detectors? But it's fun. It's fun to engage people and hear what they think and feel about your thoughts, and have some sort of stakes or agency and take a stand and try to help as best you can. And that's another thing is I've amassed so much experience and knowledge in consumer matters that to keep it inside my head, I just I didn't think that was allowed me to reach my potential. Right. I wanted to put it out in a more proactive way. And I'll tell you, it's hard. There's so much competition for eyes and ears online. And there's such worthless drivel on, say, TikTok. Somebody dancing in front of their deserted Applebee's or something. And I'm putting out something about forced arbitration clauses and protecting your rights. Boy, you're not going to get me to watch that one, right? So you got to make it jazzy and fresh and fun and provocative.
It's just a different audience. It's a different audience. Yeah.
That's what my folks tell me. Different audience. But I'd like to get that audience. Who wouldn't?
Yeah. And you will.
Thank you.
So out of curiosity, the legal wellness thing sounds great, but give me some examples. I think it will help the audience if you could give some examples of, legal wellness at work. Like what's something that we could sink our teeth in?
Let's see. Here's an example. Okay. I have a friend who, now I intervened. She could have done this herself. I'm not going to pretend that she did it herself because you've got to be 1,000% honest at all times. So, but this is something with this lesson other folks can do. So I have a friend who bought a couch from Crate and Barrel. There's a 4-piece sectional in brown. 3 pieces showed up in brown, 1 piece showed up in tan. She also bought a chair, a leather chair to accompany it, and it was scratched in 3 places. She went back to the store and she called customer service, and she got nowhere after several weeks. She was banging her head against the wall. She didn't know what the heck to do. So I said, you know what? Talking to the clerk isn't going to do it for you because nobody takes ownership of stuff anymore, sadly. You got to go to the top. You have to make the right case for yourself. So I said, let me do a letter for you. And I'll send it to Crate and Barrel's general counsel, which I did. And I made the case about the facts, what happened. The law, it's called breach of contract. She contracted to get one thing, she got another, and she wants a remedy for the breach. She wants either specific performance, the proper pieces, or, as it may be both, a discount for her troubles. By the time it was over, Crate and Barrel was gushing apologetic to me, and they sent her the right pieces, and they knocked 25% off the entire price.
Nice.
So that mattered. I'll give you another example. My daughter. Now this one she did. My daughter lives in DC, and there's a water main break, and everybody was kicked out of their apartments for not 1 day or 2 or 3, but 4 days. And she's young and whatever, and she can find somewhere to go. But they're elderly people, they're COVID issues, they're babies, they're sick people, a lot of things. And people had a lot of problems with being displaced because you can't shower, you can't use your toilet, you can't cook, you can't do anything. And people are running up all these extra costs, hotels, Ubers, food, that they're buying, out of their apartment when they can't eat in their apartment, all these sorts of things. And it added up to like $400 for her because she stayed with a friend and paid for one night's hotel. Jeez. And the apartment sent an email around that said they're going to pay for 1 night's hotel stay. It will be operating shortly, and that's the last message people will see. And she's like, I don't think so. So with my help, she wrote a letter and sent it to the management company and asked for all her damages, we call it, all her money back for things out of pocket she'd spent on account of the apartment's screw up. And listen, it's not like the apartment was hurt. They had an insurance policy, make a claim. This is what happens. And she got a rent deduction for the entire amount because she self-advocated. Because she knew that she had a breach of contract claim for the apartment not having done its job. She looked at her lease, and we put together a letter, and she sent it, and it worked.
Wow. That's awesome.
Real
That's
money.
yeah. So thanks for those real life examples. I'm sure people will be chomping at the bit of trying some of these things themselves because
Well,
those things all happen to everyone.
everybody. You
Yeah.
don't have to sound like a lawyer. Just say, I
Right.
have a lease and I was kicked out, and I'm going to go to court, and it's usually small claims court. So throw that in, or do a little online research. What's it take to get into small claims court? $5,000 or less, or whatever. Okay, fine, small claims court. Put it in there. And what I've learned in 30 years of practice is if you write a letter, it usually gets acted on. Emails get missed, get deleted, get ignored, whatever. But letters get marked. They get stamped received. They go through the chain. They get filed. They go somewhere. And if you want to get somebody to act on your behalf, in response to your problem, write a physical letter. And I have a video on that too.
Okay. So, Tanya, you've mentioned, YouTube shorts. You mentioned TikTok videos and stuff like that. So, tell us, we're in 2023 now. We're just kicking off this new year. What's your goal for your lovable lawyer brand? What's your goal?
Ultimately, I'd like to turn it into a TV show and turn it into kind of
awesome
legal. Yeah, well, it sounds awesome. Let's hope so. It would be awesome. You're right. The legal Dr. Phil, because there's nothing out there in this space. Like I said when we kicked off. Now it's hard. So what I started doing was trying to develop this bottom-up approach where I'm getting subscribers, and with a sufficient number of subscribers, you get noticed, and maybe somebody will want to pick you up or whatever on digital or cable. The networks is tough. I mean, the big three. You're not getting a show on NBC, but you never know. But
you never know.
There's so many networks out there; it's ridiculous, and so many outlets. So we started working that in. Then I ran into these folks on this production group from New York, and they produced a number of a bunch of other talent, and they like the brand, and they like the purpose and cause, and they want to help. They're helping me develop it into a TV show from the top down. So we're putting together tape to develop a sizzle reel to shop it to cable and digital to see whether somebody might be interested in turning it into a show. So and it's it is a lot of work. So you got the day job, you got the teaching, you got the other stuff, but there's always time I find for what matters. Because it matters. So I'm making time.
Yeah. I was about to say, man, it looks like you're going to be a very busy 2023. But yeah, I love the concept, love the brand, love the concept, love the brand. That's why I have you on the show, because I think people can learn something of this. So I'll get the YouTube link from you for sure. I want to link out to that. I have your website so people could take a look at you. I have your LinkedIn, so I'll have people link out to you as well from there as well, in case they want to chat with you and get to know you a little bit better. But before I let you go, let me ask you, is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
I don't think it's a matter of you're not asking me so much as my wanting to reemphasize that it matters so much to take care of yourself legally. It's an area that people don't recognize. They don't know to pay attention to it often. And that's not in a negative or judgmental way. It's just that, to get it physical, but even people even don't do that. Stay ahead of the wellness curve. To, like I said, keep your finances in order. But if you don't, I got a buddy whose kids are going to college. He's like, I'm screwed. I haven't saved a cent. I've been living off everything I've earned. I'm like, dude, you've had 20 years. You could have put away $20 a paycheck and it would have made a dent. I mean, time value of money makes a big darn difference, So get ahead of the financial wellness curve. Well, just like with legal, knowing a little bit about your rights, the whole an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure thing totally applies here, because if you can stay out of the muck, boy, aren't you happy you did. My videos talk about what happens when you're in it, but the point is to keep you from getting in it in the first place. Understand that you can write letters. Understand that you have rights with your credit card company. Understand that you have rights with your landlord. Understand what to do when you're in an auto accident. Understand that you can maybe X out things of a contract if you don't like them, and the other side might actually agree with it. So pay mind to all matters legal. It's not boring. It's essential. And boy, you might never know what you avoided, but when you didn't, you sure feel it then.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we have insurance, but it doesn't really matter until something happens, right?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And it's like having the insurance here is a bit of knowledge to avoid your having to make a claim. And when you don't make a claim, boy, it's like I tell clients who have a potential injury claim, and they say, "Can I make $1 million from this?" I said, "Listen, dude, you don't want a claim that's going to make you $1 million. Trust me. You make $1 million, you're never walking again. You want to avoid these problems to begin with, and that's what we're all about: is problem avoidance."
Good point. Good point. And that is a great end to a great episode, folks. I hope you guys learn a lot about it. Head over to the show notes right now. Don't, I know you're probably parked your car right now. Yeah, most people who listen to the show, by the way, drive. So park your car, head over to the show notes right now. Take a look at all of Danny's stuff, his LinkedIn, his YouTube channel, his website, et cetera, Reach out to him. I think you will be well served. So with that, I am going to put a. You have something to say?
Oh, well, I will. And to that end, if somebody has a legal issue, they want to bounce it off me, I answer everything. So please feel free to share your thoughts or issues. And if you want to talk about them, maybe we can and see if we can give you a hand.
There you go. Take them up on the offer. With that, folks, I'm going to put an end to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Danny Karon. Until next week, take care and bye for now. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.